What's good, family? What's good? It's your boy, Urban Sports Guru. What the hell at y'all about the AFC North? Now, the AFC North. This is a great division. It's a great division because they have three teams that, if things break for them, can win the division. That's a great division. The team that I think is going to bring up the rear in this division is the Cincinnati Bengals. A lot of people are high that Joe Burrow is coming back, and I get that. I mean, he was the number one pick of the draft for a reason. And what I got to see of him last year, I loved his accuracy, I loved his poise, I loved his command. He knows what he's doing. The problem is he still plays behind a suspect offensive line. And then you had a chance to draft Penny Sewell, who was regarded as a generational tackle. He's in Detroit right now playing right tackle instead of left tackle. Don't know why he's playing right tackle, but for a team that doesn't have a great left tackle. But anyway, you know, you had that opportunity, but you go and draft Jamar Chase, who was his receiver in LSU, and they did special things in LSU, so I get that point. Did they make moves at the tackle position? Yes. Is offensive line still going to be a question mark? Yes. And like I said, this is about the evaluation of rosters. Head coach. I'm still not sold on the head coach. That's one. I love their young quarterback. Now look at offensive and defensive lines. There's nothing to write home about. I like the skill position players he has around him, but he needs enough time to get rid of the football. You saw what happened last year when he didn't. And what I don't want to see happen to him, I've said this before with Andrew Luck, and I made the comparison of David Carr. And then a couple years later, you see Andrew Luck retire early. Andrew Luck got drafted by a team that was bad, a bad football team, and in his rookie year, a bad football team, he took him to the playoffs. And they didn't do what was necessary to protect him. So those early years, as much as he was going to the playoffs and there was this and that, Andrew Luck was getting the shit beat out of him. He was really getting his ass beat. So it took a toll on him because now they finally built up the offensive line and they built up a team that could challenge to go to the Super Bowl. And physically, he was done because he got beat up so much, not just physically but mentally. I don't want to see this happen to Joe Burrow. Who you get drafted by means a lot. When I look at the situation that Patrick Mahomes was drafted into, that's a perfect storm, people. That is a perfect storm. He's able to sit for a year, got drafted by a playoff team. He has an offensive guru at coach at Andy Reid, who finally got the wonder kid he wanted at quarterback. When he had a great quarterback in Donovan McNabb, they didn't do everything to give him the weapons, and he was turning water into wine. They didn't do everything to protect him all the time. Some of those years, those Phillies offensive lines was bad. I know because I'm a Giants fan, and they was beating the shit out of him. That's how I know. The evidence, look at when OC got 7 sacks in one game. Who was that against? No, it was 6 sacks in one game. Who was that against? That was Philly, people. Trust me, I'm a Giants fan. I know these things. So then when they got Michael Vick, you saw the magic he did that Monday night game against Washington. Then Vic ended up, injuries. Vic was not a big quarterback. Then you get that. Who you get drafted to matters. And I don't want to see, Joe Burrow get fucked up where he ends up being like a David Carr. He ends up being like Derek. Yeah, Derek Carr. Derek Carr. He ends up being like a Derek Carr. Derek Carr is a very, very talented quarterback. Never really got the chance to show how great he can be because he got fucked up, man. He got his ass whooped regularly, routinely leading the league and getting sacked because he played behind some horrible offensive lines. I don't want to see that happen to Joe Burrow. I wish him the best. I do think they're going to bring up the rear. This is a very tough division they're playing in. They will be entertaining, though, on the offensive end. Those are the Bengals. A lot of people are down on the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people are down on them. I'm not down on them as much as everyone else is. I mean, the question that you're consistently hearing is, will this be the year that Mike Tomlin finally has a losing season? I think that, and I've been 50-50 on this. I've been going back and forth as I've been doing my research on this. And I gotta say, yeah, there's so much things about the Pittsburgh Steelers that I like. Mike Tomlin finally has a great defense. Yes, they lost Bud Dupree, but you kept the better of the two. That's TJ Watt, who's right now probably the best edge guy, particularly from linebackers, probably the best in the league right now. He's going to get paid. So you made the right choice there. Um, Secondary, Mika Fitzpatrick, and Bush is coming back, and Tuitt and Hayward finally have a great defense. I look at the skill positions. They got Chase Claypool, Washington, Jesus Smith-Smooch is back, Eric Ebron at tight end. And they drafted a kid, calling him Baby Gronk. So Ben has a plethora of targets. And that's a good thing. But this team got exposed last year for their deficiencies. They weren't able to run the football. They can't pass block. They can't run block. So once teams realized it was 3 steps and get rid of it, they started sitting on that shit. And then Pittsburgh had a hard time scoring. And then when I look at how this team physically just got fucked up against Cleveland, Cleveland beat them up. Cleveland didn't outskill them. Cleveland fucked them up. Let's call it what it is. Cleveland Browns fucked them up. They fucked them up. So, and then I like the fact they went and got Najee Harris. I really, really like Najee Harris roll tide. And I do expect the offensive line to be better. Just sometimes just new people, new bodies or whatever. But the problem I see is this. When I look at the last 4 games on that season, Tennessee, I think it's Tennessee, KC, Baltimore, and then the last 4 games of the season, it's like I don't see them winning either one of those games. Really, look at their last 4 games, people. I think it's Tennessee, the Chiefs, then Baltimore, and it's another monster squad. I'm like, those last 4 games, I love me some Mike Tomlin. I do. This is going to be his first year with a losing season. That plus the fact of I got a lot of respect for Big Ben. But when I look at his draft class, Eli gone, 2 years now. Phillip Rivers just retired. Ben's still there. Ben has played the least amount of games in them. Why? Because he has a history of being injured a hell of a lot more than them. Ben made it through 16 games this year. He's going to have to make it through 17 games this year. Is he going to make it through 17 games? I love the fact that they got Dwayne Haskins and he's their reclamation project. I really wish his brother the best because I remember how high I was on him coming out of Ohio State. I think he's in the right situation. I think he's the natural successor. But I think Pittsburgh will have a close to 500 record, but below. Then we have the Baltimore Ravens. I do think Baltimore's going to make the playoffs. And there's been rumblings that GMs are saying that the league is catching up to, or have caught up to, Lamar Jackson. And it sounds crazy to people. It really does. But it sounds crazy to people that forget shit. If you remember, there were games last year where teams were flat out calling out their plays. Defenses were flat out calling out their plays. Yes, they were calling out their plays. The thing is, the guy runs 4.3. There's nothing. He runs 4.3, maybe 4.2. There's nothing you can fucking do about it. So, I've always felt like there's a reason why those kind of offenses aren't run in the NFL, because the NFL is the best athletes in the world, and you can't get away with that. The thing is, when you have someone who's an outlier kind of athlete running that offense, you got Lamar. You get what you see with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Even so, the league catches up. Now, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens have a chance. I think they'll be. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll be good. A, they can run the football just without Lamar Jackson, and losing J.K. Dobbins is a problem. That's a problem. But with their running scheme, they'll be able to run the football against anybody. The problem is, the problem is, they need to expand this offense passing. You cannot continuously be dead last in throwing the football and be trying to win a Super Bowl. I love the defense. They have a great defense. Two great corners. They have a great defense. They can cover. They can rush. They can get after the quarterback. You know, they have a great defense, and I love their head coach. I don't think they have what it takes to, as a unit. I look at evaluating rosters. I don't think they're as good as the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, when I look at their defense, they were stout against the run last year. What did they do? They was pretty suspect to pass. They had some injuries in the secondary. They get their corners back. Then they go out and get the safety from the Rams, shoring up the secondary. Then on top of that, they get a Jadeveon Clowney. Now, Jadeveon Clowney, no one questions his physical talent. Jadeveon Clowney is a specimen. That's what he is. He's a specimen. There's no other way to call it. But the production doesn't always match the physical ability. And a lot of it because A, he's injured. A lot of times, is he always playing hard? A lot of times, he's wild. He's very wild. People say he's good against the run. I think he's average against the run. It's just that he ends up knifing through the lines. A lot of times he's just guessing. Sometimes he gets right. When he guesses wrong, he leaves huge gaps behind him, and they run right behind that. But the fact that he doesn't have to be the guy. Because you just saw him in Seattle, and he was the guy, and you heard nothing from him. Besides that one Monday night game against San Fran, you heard nothing from him. Why? Because he had to be the guy. You saw when he was in Houston, he had to be the guy. When J.J. Watt was injured, you didn't see him make a whole lot of noise. You didn't see him with, 15, 16 sack seasons and all like that. He never had more than 10. And those are the years with or without J.J. Watt. You had one of the all-time greats, not just a Hall of Famer, but one of the all-time best in the small room of the Hall of Fame. You're playing next to, and the best you can do is 10 sacks. Now he's a little bit older. All the physical ability is still there. All the physical ability there, but the fact that he's playing with one of the best edge rushers in the league, as far as defensive end, I said T.J. Watt is the best at linebacker. The best at defensive end is Myles Garrett. Pretty much defensive end, linebacker is just the same. If you ask me to compare the two, I give a slight edge to Myles Garrett. I think, but Myles Garrett is the best in the business, and you get to play off of that. Similar to when he was playing off of JJ. So I like Cleveland to win the division. Offensive line, they are so stout on that offensive line. Rated as the best offensive line in football, and deservedly so. When I look at that offensive line, I get pissed off at Dave Gettleman because I look at that tackle from Alabama, which we had the opportunity to draft. We did not draft him. We drafted Thomas, and look at what Thomas is doing. Look what that tackle Wills is doing. Please don't piss me off today. They can run the football with two running backs. They have multiple receivers. And Baker Mayfield has elevated his game. I think he'll elevate his game more. I love their head coach, Kevin Stefanski. I think the Cleveland Browns win the AFC North. That's my take. See me in those comments. Hit the like, hit the subscribe for Urban Sports Guru. I'm out. Salute.